Good afternoon and welcome to the market recap. John Hoagland back with you again. Perhaps you were looking for Dan. He's not back with us just yet. He is doing fine though. I told him you were all sending your love, and he says, back at you. Today is Thursday, February the 18th. An interesting trading day. Interesting news day as well. I just found out that the Mars rover landed successfully on Mars. Apparently, they've already got a picture back. You could see the control room celebrating just within the last few minutes. So that's pretty big news. As far as the markets are concerned, just to kind of wash over what's happened in them today, we'll look at the charts here very shortly. The crude remains in a rollover range. Hopefully, you were trading that April contract today, retesting that weekly kickoff level. The E-mini and the NASDAQ, traders have short memories. We had jobless claims come out a little worse than they were expecting this morning, pushing prices lower. But by the end of the day, most of those losses have been recovered. Almost right back to that previous weekly kickoff level that we've been visiting so often in the S&Ps. Gold still range bound between those two inflection levels we were looking at this morning. We'll look again this afternoon. And the euro, there was no gap fill. There was a kind of an inventory adjustment, but it never did fill that gap. So the market kind of resolved back to the upside when it failed to fill that gap. And the 10-year still showing acceptance below that weekly kickoff level that we broke out of this week, but not really seeing much momentum in that downward direction. So we will certainly be keeping an eye on that. Yes. As usual, please make sure you like, share, comment, question, feedback, and heckling are always welcome. And you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to get notifications when we do go live. I say good afternoon to everybody. Brian D, Felix, good to see you. Prophet Eon, Rod. I just checked. It's 24 degrees here in Chicago. It is a bit of a heat wave, it seems. Bill Phillips, good to see you. Tanya, sorry, it's just me, not my younger, smarter, and better-looking cohort, Dan. Ralph, good to see you. Bulldozer, good evening, good afternoon. James, the chef, Mike is here. Hi, Tanya. Danny, greetings to all from Yellowstone. Go, Dan. Yes, of course. You're in Yellowstone, huh? Danny, wow. Murph, just watching that on NASA's YouTube channel. Yes, successful landing on Mars. Amazing. We've come a long way. Kind of makes me think of my grandma, who was born in 1899 and finally passed away in 2001. She had been alive in 3 separate centuries, and thinking about the changes that occurred in that century has me excited for what may be to come in this century. She remembers the first car she ever saw, and the first time she saw indoor plumbing, all the way to cell phones and computers. Amazing. So, without further ado, let's take a look and see what we're seeing in these charts here. As always, looking at the daily chart in crude oil first. So, we were trading April today, I hope. It's okay if you weren't, but tomorrow you certainly want to be, though there won't be much volume left in that March contract. Overall, we weren't going to be getting much good information from volume or open interest. Obviously, the market still bouncing along that 59.80 weekly kickoff high. I've got a measured move all the way up here to 64.80. I think it's still possible if we can hold above this inflection level here that we have been revisiting so often. Here's the 30-minute chart. Okay, here's that 59.80 level. Boy, it certainly has provided some decent opportunities, or at least some, I would say good opportunities to either enter a trade or to get out of a trade. The Market opened with a slight gap. We closed that gap relatively early. We opened outside of range. Once we had come back inside and accepted inside of value from yesterday, it was almost a foregone conclusion that we were probably going to come down and recheck this level down here. Another interesting day for us tomorrow as rollover begins to wind up. We'll be watching the open interest and see how close we come to that tomorrow morning. The E-mini S&Ps, we starting on the daily chart. 3920 remains somewhat magnetic. Here we go again. And let's get this big so we can all see. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days where 3920 has been touched or moved through. Market moved almost all the way back up to it after this morning's downside rout after the jobless claims number came out. Here's what it looked like. Okay, we opened out in range but below value. We put in this low here. Did I just lose everybody? Strange. We put in this low here, and like we always say, the mind of the trader is, the memory is pretty short. So when we put in this low here, we started turning back up. We finally found some re-acceptance inside of yesterday's area of value after opening outside of it. Then almost all the way back to that 3920 level. Did we really close? Not quite. Didn't quite finish this value area play, but got pretty darn close to it. Mostly all gone. Okay, yeah, something happened with the live stream here on YouTube. I wasn't sure if you guys were still with me, but apparently you are. Thanks for letting me know. Similar, I mean, almost the same situation here in the NASDAQ. What really didn't follow suit was the Russell. Russell struggled a lot more to the upside than the NASDAQ and the S&P and the Dow. Here it is again. We opened below range, below value. We put in the low. We get back into value and we re-accept value. This didn't quite get as far or as close to the high of value as the S&Ps did, but it's almost the same trading day. Almost the same trading day. Gold, let's look. We were talking this morning about the fact that we were kind of stuck between two longer time frame inflection levels that are pretty close together. I think I remember suggesting being patient and waiting for opportunities at the extremes of these inflection levels. And if you were able to do that, maybe you were able to get into a long here. It got a little bit deep below this level, and we never really did get to this level. But for all intents and purposes, value remaining constant. Looks like we're going to be pretty close to yesterday's settlement and tonight's settlement. Not a lot of action here, not a lot of opportunity, but the longer we stay here, we start seeing some open interest coming into this market. And yesterday, again, just to review, we lost about 3,000 in open interest yesterday. So we're not seeing a lot of momentum or interest in gold right just at this time, but give it some time. It will change. If we're still in this area tomorrow, it's probably going to be somewhat off my radar until we can see some sort of acceptance through time, volume, momentum, or participation outside of this area that we're currently in. The euro. Go back to the daily. That's not what I wanted to do. Excuse me. So we had a close below our current weekly kickoff low. Excuse me. I apologize. We've rejected that now. We're still relatively range bound now and probably short time frame controlled. 30-minute chart. Lacey's saying hello, everyone. We opened with a considerable gap and considerably far away from settlement. This market is kind of looking like it is firming up because with the effort to close the gap but being unable to with this much overnight inventory, we didn't give much of that inventory back, and now they're continuing to still get paid. So I'm thinking this market may be a bigger rejection below this level than I was initially thinking this morning. I thought maybe we'd get another look down here. We weren't able to do that. And for the 10-year, still just kind of biding time down here. We broke out down below this inflection level here on Tuesday, really just kind of showing through time a degree of acceptance, but we've retested this weekly kickoff low here. Let's see how that played out for us today. That was in the overnight session, and opening in range and in value. We said, you know what, we're going to be patient. We're going to look for better trade locations as the day goes on. This was probably a pretty tough trade for those that were trading it today as well. Just not that much to lean on other than these lows here. And a bit of a high volume node yesterday in the session. So that would have been something that would have probably caught my eye for an opportunity. So anyways, that's what we're looking at. That's the way the cookie crumbled today. We have to see how the cookie crumbles again tomorrow. As far as news is concerned, we already kind of touched on the fact that the Mars rover has landed. The House Financial Services or whatever committee has had their meeting with the Reddit people, Robinhood people, Citadel. I haven't had a chance to really check into what was talked about or what was said. I'm understanding, however, that the meeting was a little bit contentious. We're going to have to see how that played out for the industry later on today. Anytime you get the government involved, they tend to really gum things up. As far as other news, there's nothing all that tremendous here. Lumber prices up over $1,000 for the first time. Single family housing starts drop by 12%. We saw that this morning. That's really about it as far as this day in history. What was that? Mark Twain published The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn on February 18th, 1885. Ray Charles records "What I Say" on Atlantic Records in 1959. One of his great songs. That should be on This Day in Music. But I've got some of that too. And in 2001, today's the date that Dale Earnhardt Sr. was killed in a crash during a race. So, yeah, it is on This Day in Music, 1959. Everybody's talking about it. What I Say. The Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys recorded Good Vibrations on this date in 1966. Some of you might think that I would remember that, but I don't. 1972, they always like to tell us what's happening with Led Zeppelin. On their first Australian tour, Led Zeppelin rescheduled to the following night their concert at Memorial Drive in Adelaide, Australia, because it rained so hard, the stage and all the equipment were too wet. It was the largest PA system seen in Australia to produce what was expected to be the loudest rock show ever. 1990, Freddie Mercury made his final public appearance on stage when he joined the rest of Queen to collect the Brit Award for Outstanding Contribution to Music. Yeah, that's about all I can bring up out of that. 1965, Dr. Dre was born on this date. We have 1954, John Travolta was born. 1947, Dennis DeYoung from Styx was born today. And in 1933, Yoko Ono was born. Interesting stuff. All right. So I think that's going to be about it for us for the recap. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow for the market forecast. Let's end the week strong. Tomorrow's Friday. We're coming around the final turn here for the week. It's a short week. Sometimes these short weeks seem a little bit longer than the regular weeks. This one's flying by pretty fast. I can't believe it's Friday already. And then soon it'll be March, and then soon it'll be April, and we'll have some warm weather. I'm looking forward to that. And I know, there's still some really bad weather down where they're not used to bad weather in Texas, and hopefully in New Mexico where you are, Tanya, things have straightened out a little bit. But a lot of people having some problems down there. So we pray for them, and hopefully that will get straightened out pretty quick. Looking forward to everybody doing well tomorrow, doing well tonight. Get some rest. Take care of yourself. Wash your hands. And we will see you tomorrow morning for the market forecast. Until then, take it easy. Get some rest. Another day tomorrow.